Hey guys, today we are going to start with a new course, right? You can say one of the most important area within DevOps, it would be continuous integration and continuous delivery. So for every company, the reason why DevOps came to the market, I mean, if you think about 10, 15 years before where DevOps was not a term, and the companies were still developing software, they were delivering the software to their customer, and a lot of business were running, and a lot of business used software as their one of the key driving factors inside their company. And there were still operational things were going fine, but actually things were not going that much fine for most of the companies at that time. The reason was there was a lot of teams working inside the software. There are development team, they are responsible for writing the code to develop the software. Then there are QA team, and they always run some quality testing and checking on the software, especially when the software is changed. Every time the developer make any code change, it would be the responsibility of the QA team to verify and assure the quality of the software. And then there were other teams also. There were a security team who always insists the software can go to customer only after it passed certain security standards. So they will make sure that the software is checked and verified, and that before it is safe and less risky before it would be taken to the customer. And then there were operations team, and they are the ones responsible for setting up the infrastructure, deploying the software into those infrastructure, and maintaining and managing those infrastructure and many other things. And there would be a lot of decision makers, right, who make a decision: is the software ready to be delivered to the customer after the developer made the modifications? And there were monitoring team, they are responsible for monitoring and watching the running software. In case of any problem reported on the software, they get the feedback about the problem, and the response to those incidents, fix the problem and make the software up and available again. So there were too many people working for the software. I mean, it's not, software is not worked only by the development team. There are many other teams also who are involved in verifying, checking, and validating the software, and finally deliver the software to the customer. And that process was not very easy, especially when you have different team working. They all have their own concerns, and most of these concerns can sometimes conflict. The development team want to release the software immediately, but the security team understood that there are some security concerns that need to be addressed, and before addressing them, software cannot be released to the customer. The operation team would also find out some networking criteria is not met properly, that should be fixed before the software could go to production. The quality engineers would check the quality of the software. They found any bugs or issues, they won't let the software go to the customer. So basically a lot of rework needed to be done within the company, and a lot of effort from many teams has to come in place if the software to be delivered to the customer. Usually that happens once in a month if you are lucky, but for most of the company, the software releases, that means delivering the software to the customer, happens once in 2 months or once in 3 months. In some worst case scenarios, it could be once in every 6 months. And then think about this, your software need to be modified because the customer need those modifications. It is for the customer requirement, you are making changes to the software, and you are delivering those changes to the customer after 6 months after the customer requested it. It could potentially mean maybe after 6 months there are many other products in the market that the customer can use, and those products already deliver the feature that you have developed, right? Because 6 months are past, that's a lot of time, a lot of things have changed in the market. Maybe the customer requirement also changed. The requirement what you are releasing to the customer is not relevant anymore because the market condition itself has changed, and you don't want to come through those situation. But that was the true situation that was happening in many companies 10, 15 years ago. And that is when they all came together to figure out what each other companies are doing. A lot of discussion happened around, and some companies were doing great. There were companies who were doing deliveries every day. There were companies who were able to deliver the software only once in 6 months. So everyone came to a conclusion that if everybody put their input and develop, understand what each others are doing and how this problem can be resolved, and that is where all these efforts came in, and eventually the term DevOps has evolved. And if you think about DevOps, I mean, it's actually one of the primary aim of DevOps would be the continuous integration and continuous delivery. That means your development team or your business need to make some code change. Those code change should reach to the customer in time, if possible within a couple of weeks, or maybe for some companies they have a requirement that every time the customer needs something, they want to deliver it on the same day. So for some companies, the requirement could be every day they want to release their software to the customer. So it is the DevOps, and it is basically all those culture changes and a lot of technology that driven those culture. That is what made all these things possible for most of the company. Today, in most of the company, continuous integration and continuous delivery is not a new word. Maybe they are not matured enough, but at least they have a process that enable the continuous integration and continuous delivery. Releasing the software every 6 months is not today's story, right? Today things have changed a lot, right? It is the continuous integration and continuous delivery that is a business objective. I mean, you can assume that to be a business objective. Basically, it is the business who need to make the changes to the software based on the customer demand and finally deliver these changes to the customer in time, right? So that is what CI/CD is all about, continuous integration and continuous delivery, or CI/CD. That's what this is all about. So we are going to talk about continuous integration and continuous delivery in detail inside this course. So stay tuned, and we will start with some basic introduction in the next video.